and insightful session in this 2-week ATAL Faculty Development Program on Advanced Cybersecurity. The journey of learning continues, and what better way to dive into the cutting-edge world of cyber law with artificial intelligence law than a true global authority on the subject. It is our honor to introduce you all to our eminent speaker for session 13, a pioneer in cyber law, cybersecurity, and artificial intelligence law, Dr. Pawan Duggal. Recognized among the world's top cyber lawyers, Dr. Duggal Dr. Duggal is a leading advocate at the Supreme Court of India and the founder and chairman of the International Commission on Cybersecurity Law. His expertise is acknowledged by Google Bard, ChatGPT, Copilot, and WTD, which rank him among the top cyber law experts globally. He is also a trusted cybersecurity consultant for the Bureau of Civil Aviation Security, Government of India. His contributions to UNCTAD, UNISCAP, the Council of Europe, and ICANN highlights his immense impact on global cyber policy and governance. A visionary thought leader, Dr. Duggal has authored over 200 books on cyber law, AI legalities, and digital security, influencing scholars, policymakers, and legal professionals worldwide. With over 3,700 lectures delivered globally, his insights have shaped the future of cybersecurity and AI legal frameworks. Before we begin this highly anticipated session, as a token of our appreciation and respect, we would like to felicitate Dr. Pawan Duggal with her sapling as a symbol of growth, knowledge, and sustainability. And for doing the honors, I would request the Dean of School of Computer and System Sciences, Professor Zahid Raza, to do so. Sir, please come on stage. And ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together. Now get ready for a power-packed session as Dr. Duggal is going to unravel the complexities of cyber law and AI security into today's digital world. Let's welcome him with a huge round of applause.
Do you guys want presentation or you want just freely discussion?
We just want to hear you.
Okay, fine. Distinguished faculty, am I audible?
वॉल्यूम थोड़ा बढ़ा दो.
Can you all hear me? I think I just give a presentation.
No, here.
So hi and welcome once again. How many of you have not used ChatGPT? Please raise your hands. One, two, two hands. My next question. How many of you have used Quen 2.5 Max of Alibaba? I see three hands. Wonderful. And how many of you have used DeepSeek? Please raise your hands. Wow, majority of them. So these three put together are the trinity of the modern age, an age of artificial intelligence. And today when we talk about cyber security, we cannot just not talk about AI. In fact, artificial intelligence and cyber security are now two sides of the same coin. In the olden times, there used to be the Samrat, the monarch. He used to have a huge empire, the Samrajya. And he used to have a Senapati, the commander-in-chief. If there was tandem between the Samrat and Senapati, it was prosperity and peace all around. But a lot of times, the Senapati would go ahead and conspire against the Samrat, which would lead to the decline of the empire. Now, those analogies are in history. If I were to cut, copy, paste and put them in today's scenario, I can tell you that in today's ecosystem, the Samrajya is that of the artificial intelligence age. The Samrat is artificial intelligence. And the commander-in-chief is cybersecurity. So if you are going to have a good relationship between Samrat and the Senapati, that's AI and cybersecurity, you're potentially going to be seeing a much better area. But any disconflict or any lack of potential trust in them, we could potentially be seeing a lot of potential issues. A lot of things are happening in India. We have the various abhiyans that's going on. But none of the problems have been started to be addressed in the Indian context. Now, since almost all of you use ChatGPT, let me ask by asking you, how many of you have read the terms and conditions of ChatGPT? No one. Nobody reads it. Has anybody read the privacy policy of OpenAI? None. Obviously, it's very clear that you don't want to bundle yourself with these kinds of headaches. But you realize one thing. In India, a quiet new revolution has started happening. I call it the Great Indian Vomiting Revolution. Indians are vomiting data about their personal, professional, social lives on the internet without thinking of the legal ramifications. So, I know this youngster from college who came and saw me. He's in Delhi University. He came and saw me and he shared an anecdote. He says, I've got, sir, about number of girlfriends and I couldn't really manage them. So I went to ChatGPT and asked them for an approach on how to best deal with 5 different girlfriends simultaneously. And the program gave him an option. He said he's been implementing it. He's very happy. So if the program can advise you how to manage 5 different girlfriends at the same time, little do you realize that you are opening yourself to a Pandora's box. Number one, when you log in with your own ID. Number two, when you give your names of your girlfriends, the names are also getting stuck into a big pool of public information. And if you think AI is not going to use those names, or is not going to use this combination of yourself being a boyfriend of ex-girlfriend, you're mistaken. So any kind of expectation of privacy must instantaneously evaporate. But people don't think about it. People are left, right and center putting all kind of information thinking, you know, in India we have this magical fetish. We love magic. Why? Because we are all inspired by Bollywood films. So, we like the Jadoo Ki Jappi. like the magical wand, that I'm going to just flash the wand and all my problems will disappear. Nothing like that happens. So if you think that your next magical turnkey is artificial intelligence, think again. Why? Because artificial intelligence is actually a data dowering demon. It's constantly dowering your data. And more importantly, it's going ahead and collecting your data without your knowledge. So if you don't understand the ramifications of sharing data with AI, then you also ought to be aware that potentially your cybersecurity could be standing compromised. So today's scenario, Indians are going left, right and center on AI without thinking of any kind of consequences. How many of you have used the latest version of ChatGPT, the paid version? How many? I see 3 or 4 hands. The latest paid version of ChatGPT has a new feature. It's called its memory function. Every time I ask something from AI, it creates a memory file. That memory file is constantly updated every time I ask something. So earlier they used to say that Google knows far more about me than my wife and family. Today that dictum is gone. Today an OpenAI, an AI, knows far more about me than anyone else. Why? Because they got the peep into my mindsets of what I'm thinking. Because earlier when I would Google, I would put my questions and I'll get series of websites. I'll have to go to each website and then come up with my answers. Now I have specific questions and I get specific answers. It's not necessarily very true that the answers will be correct. It's also not true that the answers will be comprehensive. But then, nonetheless, it's much better than just going to any search engine and getting X amount of stuff. So in America, there are these 2 lawyers. They were fighting a case for a client. This client was traveling in an airplane. There was a turbulence in the air. And consequent to the turbulence, he suffered injuries. So he landed back and filed a lawsuit for compensation against the airlines. When the matter is going on, one day the court wants the plaintiff to file written arguments tomorrow morning. That is the court saying at the end of the day. They hardly have one night to prepare written arguments. They don't have time. So these lawyers have heard about ChatGPT. So they go to ChatGPT and give the facts of the case and asks ChatGPT to generate written arguments. ChatGPT generates written arguments. In the written arguments, this program gives 6 different American cases along with their citations and the case law that's developed there. The lawyers ask ChatGPT, you are quoting 6 cases. I hope they are correct. ChatGPT says, absolutely correct. Please go ahead. No problems. So the lawyers have no reason to disbelieve. Consequently, they cut, copy, paste and present these written arguments before the court. And then the court finds that it's facing an unprecedented situation. Why? Because all the 6 cases are fake. The parties don't exist. The litigations never happened. The judges mentioned in the said cases did not exist, and there was no such reference of these anywhere. So that's the time when they asked the lawyers said we got it from ChatGPT. Initially the court wanted to terminate their license to practice, but then subsequently the court adopted a more softer approach, just fined them $5,000. Now that's 2023. Now in 2025, you want to try putting your hand and try giving some Indian cases to these AI programs, I will request you to adopt caution. Why? Because it's still giving fake information. It's still giving you fake cases. The beauty is the confidence with which artificial intelligence tells lies is phenomenal. And if you're going to rely upon this lies. It could not just impact your reputation, but ultimately even your cyber security. Today we talk about just new cases that have happened on digital arrest. How many of you have heard of digital arrest? Everybody. So it's interesting. There is this lady who's living in a farmhouse about 10 kilometers from here. Her kids are married. They are outside. She's alone. She's got a retinue of servants. She gets a call on her phone saying that please switch on your video call. She switched on the video call. And lo and behold, she actually sees a man in a policeman's uniform, says he's calling from this police station in Bombay, says that she has sent a parcel. They've intercepted the parcel, it contains drugs, and that they will be proceeding against her under the Narcotics and Psychotropic Substances Act. A very stringent law, gets you life imprisonment. In addition, they further tell her that, look, you've also committed various cyber crimes. Hold on, let me hand it over to the cybercrime officer. So he hands over to another officer who's another policeman uniform guy. He says she's also committed various cyber crimes and that they will prosecute her, she will die in jail. And if she wants to avoid harassment, she can pay some convenience money. She says, I don't have much money, I'm an old woman and I cannot help you. That's the time they play the trump card. They say, no problem. You want to act smart? Please do that. Just remember, outside your farmhouse, we've stationed sharpshooters. There are 6 sharpshooters around your farmhouse, waiting to shoot you down, hunt you down. So try acting funny, and we'll kill you. And we promise you we'll kill you in the next 45 minutes. If that's the fear that comes in the mind of the lady, she decides to give what she has. She first gives about 80 lakhs from her account. They're not satisfied. They've done homework. They know she got a couple of crores of FDs. They ask her to go to the bank tomorrow morning, liquidate the FDs, and lo and behold, in total the woman transfers about 4.3 crore rupees in 3 days. When she finally realizes, I've given away everything, there's nothing more to do, she says, ask your sharpshooters to shoot me. I'm not bothered. That's the time the drama comes to an end. She concludes the call. But by the time she realizes she's become a victim of cyber crimes, digital arrest, and she's lost 4.3 crore rupees. Now, 4.3 crores is a huge amount of money. You lost your life savings. Why? Because you are afraid. Why? Because post-COVID-19, 2 elements have become an integral part of our lives. One is fear and the other is panic. And cyber criminals are utilizing both fear and panic for the purposes of making them as a weapon to target you. So all of us get fearful, all of us get very panicky, and lo and behold, this is golden time for cyber criminals. No wonder the golden age of cybercrime has evolved. Often in the cases of digital arrest, it's also a classical case of breach of cyber security. You may voluntarily give access to your details, but that consent is not voluntary. That consent is obtained under coercion, force, influence. And that being so, your cyber security could still stand to get compromised as we go about. Today, cybercrime is so much rampant that earlier we used to think it's going to happen somewhere in the Western world. Now the government of India has got a ringtone. Every time I make a call to someone else, I'm informed by the cybercrime department that don't become a victim of cybercrime or a cybersecurity breach. Why? Because if you do that, you can go to 1930 or report this. So the moment you are getting now a call tone in this regard, warning you of cybercrime, I can just give you an example of the kind of practical crisis that India is undergoing. India is actually bleeding. And the bleeding is happening thanks to the fact that Indians are losing money to cyber crimes, to cyber security breaches. You know, every 11 seconds, one company in India became a victim of a ransomware attack. That's 2023. But hold on, end of 2024, one company every 9 seconds has started becoming a victim of a ransomware attack. So if it's not attacked you and you think you are safe, think again. You're actually almost in the center of a burning island. We recently had these fires in Los Angeles. Imagine you're on an island and the entire island is burning and you're sitting in your house in a hunky-dory position being comfortable. How comfortable you ultimately are is something that has to be seen in the context of the situation. We are all being surrounded by cybersecurity breaches and cybercrimes as we are actually going forward. This new revolution of OpenAI, of AI, has now triggered off far more new things. 30th of November 2022 looks pretty recently, but for me it's pretty distant. Why? So much has happened from 30th of November 2022. That was the day when ChatGPT got launched. The world changed irreversibly. Why? Our approach on how we are going to deal with the digital ecosystem changed. But while we are still getting habituated with AI, we are also not even trying to understand the legal, policy, regulatory and cyber security ramifications of artificial intelligence. So people say AI is going to make us more intelligent. I have a different take. I think we have already entered into the age of artificial stupidity. People are becoming artificially stupid because they are extensively relying upon these AIs without appropriate application of mind. Do you actually even want to ask yourself how safe is your AI platform? Do you even want to ask the platform provider, guys, what are you putting in terms of making a platform more secure, safe? What are you doing to ensure that my data does not get impacted? So when you go to ChatGPT, at the bottom line is a small disclaimer. It says, ChatGPT can make mistakes, check information again. Don't be misled by that. It cannot just make mistake, it can actually it can do big blunders. And therefore, checking becomes topmost priority. Also, in case if you think that our data is going to be private, think again. The terms and conditions and privacy policy of this platform tells me whatever I share with this platform becomes part of their training pool of data, which is public data, on which your AI algorithms are going to be tested. So any expectation of privacy, personal privacy and data privacy must instantaneously evaporate when one talks about this. So in this era of artificial stupidity, everybody is getting foxed by these AI crimes. So we were till now talking about cyber crimes, but I'm now talking about AI crimes, or artificial intelligence crimes, which are specifically a subset or a newly evolving kinds of cyber crimes, which are either targeting artificial intelligence or which are being done using artificial intelligence. And why? Ultimately to breach the cyber security of systems. Why? Ultimately to capture data, to make a copy of data. Why? So that data can be compromised, data can be monetized, and data can be misused for targeting. Today, let's quickly realize that we are no longer humans. We have become data entities. We are generating data on a 24/7 basis, all the time. I don't know, there's a strange fetish. People don't want to make friends in the real world, but people are in the hunger for searching new friends online. God forbid, if you meet with an accident tomorrow and you are in the ICU, you may have 50,000 friends online. Maybe not even 5 will come and see you in the ICU. That's the existing ground reality. So the dopamine and its impact on the mind has to be kept into consideration as we actually move forward. So people are losing money, and cyber criminals have now come up with new programs. One is called Fraud GPT. It's a program that's available on the dark net, which allows the cyber criminals to use the power of GPT for perpetuating, thinking and implementing new kinds of cyber frauds. A new program has also come in. It's called Ghost GPT, which is actually a program by means of which cyber criminals are creating new malware, spyware, malicious programs for the purposes of inserting it into computer systems and networks and breaching data. So that's a new trend that's begun to start happening. In addition, the traditional crimes are continuing. When I say traditional, I talk about traditional cyber crimes. Here a student or a YouTuber crashes a Zoom class in a Noida school and abuses teacher. And that's a viral video that comes across. I think people get new kinds of highs when they want to talk obscenities, when they want to talk about different other stuff which is not warranted by human behavior. But nonetheless, it's beginning to start happening. In this case, in Ahmedabad, we actually found that a teacher has been jailed under a very stringent law in India for the purposes of harassing students online. You don't expect teachers to harass students online. But in this case, the teacher harassed the student and he had to face the consequences. Cyberbullying is now the de facto #1 practical problem amongst educational institutions. Whether we like it or not, we are all sadistic. हम तो सनम डूबेंगे, तुम्हें ले डूबेंगे. That's an old phrase that today amply justifies the mindset today. I might get drowned, but I will make sure that you get really in a bad position. That's the mindset of cyber criminals. Forget about cyber criminals. That's a mindset of digital users. And consequently, you find cyberbullying amongst children, amongst youngsters. Well, 9 out of 10 adults already admit to online cyberbullying as per one survey. Now, in this case, imagine the admin of an Instagram page who's responsible for the content on that day, that page, himself gets booked for cyber stalking, bullying, or harassing a particular woman per se. You want to think about romance? Think again. Online there's no romance. It's just, it's a mithya, is what they call. It's a bhram. Why? Because under this garb of so-called romance, you'll actually find problems. So this youngster, 13-year-old boy in the school, got in love with a 12-year-old girl from another school. And both of them used to exchange lovey-dovey messages. And lo and behold, both of them decided, let's run from home and go and set up our own house somewhere. I mean, the Hindi films have such phenomenal impact on our minds. So they decide to run away from home. 13-year-old boy and so-called 12-year-old girl. And lo and behold, a location is fixed. At the nth moment, the girl chickens out because she's only 12 years old. So she goes and tells her parents that I'm about to run away with this boy, but I'm feeling scared. Parents alert the police. The police reaches the location. On the location, they don't find a 13-year-old boy. They find a 47-year-old woman who's out to go ahead and abduct this girl and then potentially ask for money or ransom. So today the context of the ecosystem has changed completely. And why I'm telling you all this is because ultimately all of this is going to have an impact upon the data that's happening around us, on the cyber security of systems as we go forward. Not many people commit suicide. In this case, a student from Delhi Public School, Faridabad, has actually committed suicide. So we will see suicides getting more and more frequent. Why? Because people are getting more and more weaker in their mindsets. They're getting more and more, shall I say, empowered by the factors around them. So people are losing distinction between the real world and the virtual world. And we are taking the virtual world itself to be for granted, which again is a practical problem. Look at the NCRB figures, and these are government figures, mind you. They have no connection with ground reality. Actual ground reality is worse. They say, look, the cybercrime against children in 2020 rose 400% from 2019. That was 2020. Today is 2025. You can just have an idea of where we are currently standing. Child pornography is so predominant. Pedophiles in India are now the new flavor of the season. They want to go ahead and capture all kind of new content. You realize that the maximum kind of child pornography content today gets originated from India. Why? Because Indian content is more preferred. Why? Because Indian content fetches far more data outside and money outside. Okay, here's also a bigger problem. When you watch child pornography, is that an offense? In this case, people got notices for viewing child pornography. And I want to pause here because the Indian cyber law tells you watching pornography is not a problem. You can watch it in the closed doors of your home or your private space. Watching child pornography is a problem. Because if you're going to browse child pornography, that gets a serious offense. Gets you what? 5 years jail time, 10 lakh rupees fine under section 67B of the Information Technology Act. Only offense in the country where the law says browsing of child pornography is also an offense. So we'll have to think again. What's child? Anybody below age of 18. Today, puberty coming earlier. We're actually now beginning to see a scenario where people are growing up early, right? Girls are growing up early. So looking at a girl, I can't say whether she's above 18 or below 18. If she's below 18, then she comes under the category of child. And in case anybody is watching her pornography content, that is going to come under child pornography under the applicable laws. Sextortion is very, very common. And it's getting very, very more complicated. And everybody is becoming a victim of this. So this is this businessman. 11 o'clock in the night, he's after dinner looking at some of his normal browsing. He's getting a call on his phone. His wife is in another room, kids are married, settled, they're on their own rooms. He's running a wonderful business. He gets a call on the phone, he picks up the phone, they want him to open up a video call, he opens up a video call, and he actually sees a woman undressing herself. She quickly undresses, and then she wants him to undress. He says, nobody's looking around, let me have a look, some good fun. He undresses. They do some activities online, and then the phone gets disconnected. In the next 5 seconds, he gets a call back, saying, we've recorded what you're doing. Now, if you want this video not to be shared with your family, just pay us about 35,000 rupees. 35,000? Peanuts. He says, forget about it. He pays 35,000. And he's relaxed. Next morning, they say, well, we got 35, give us 2 lakhs now more. He says, you are going to be greedy. He says, no problem. You either pay 2 lakhs or we share. He pays 2 lakhs. After a week, the demand comes for 10 lakhs. That's the time he decides to take legal advice. And we tell him, Chief, sit back and relax, not a single money to be paid. Why? This is a constant cycle. The moment you pay, you are number one confirming that you have a capability to pay. Number two, you confirm that you are fearful and that you can and do want to become a victim of further cybercrime. So I think that's a new phenomenon that's happening. Well, this is even worse. Parents have found that their children have died. They are getting threats that, look, we will make sex videos of your dead children available online. If you don't want them to be particularly made available, please pay us money. That's a new form of sextortion that's begun to start coming in. If a child of 14 years old starts selling child porn and he gets caught in that, just think of the kind of practical crises that we are currently going in. In America, you find that a 17-year-old boy has died by suicide hours after being scammed. The FBI says it's part of a troubling increase in sextortion cases. 1 in 10 Indian adolescents have actually faced cyberbullying. 85% of Indian children have fallen prey to cyberbullying at some point of time. That's what McAfee is telling us. Okay, can I actually escape legal liability when I publish obscene content? The answer is no. The law says under section 67 of the AICTE Act that the moment I publish, I transmit or cause to be published or transmitted in the electronic form obscene content. That's an offense. 3 years jail time, 5 lakh rupees fine. That could be even consensual content. You created an obscene video of your girlfriend, boyfriend, and you want to upload it, maybe even to your private drive. the law says that's still an offense. It still is going to get you imprisonment and fine as you actually go forward. So I think we are in a different ecosystem altogether. Why I was telling you all these cases was just to give you an example why cybersecurity is becoming very important. In this case, this girl in Mumbai wanted to increase her Instagram followers. She actually paid 55,000 from her father's account to get more followers, only to find that she herself has been scammed and become a victim. In this case, we had an Oxford teen which was accused of being a multi-millionaire cyber criminal. Okay, let me quickly go through this. Do children care about cyber security? I don't think so. How many of you, by the way, have antivirus on your mobile phone? Please raise your hands. One hand. How many of you have a firewall on your mobile phones? Please raise your hands. One, two hands. I think there's a predominant misconception. Because I have the phone in my pocket, in my purse, I believe my phone is the most secure device. Little do we realize that breaching the cyber security of a phone is a child's play. So, when we talk of Pegasus, how many of you have not heard of Pegasus? Okay, 2-3 hands. Well, Pegasus is a program that was being made in Israel by a company for the purposes of illegally getting into your mobile phone, copying your entire data, listening to your entire conversation and sending them back. Now that's an official product that's sold by the company to governments for interception. So we had a huge problem, there was a huge controversy, public interest litigation reached the Indian Supreme Court. Supreme Court actually set up a special monitoring committee that's still looking into it because there's still not cogent evidence. But the reality is, today your mobile can be compromised at the drop of a hat. In India, it's not just India, I think it's across the world. People have started becoming more and more forgetful. Bhulakkad. That's the word in Hindi. And because we are getting bhulakkad or forgetful, we are recording things on our own devices. Our credit card numbers, debit card numbers, your internet banking numbers, your passwords, your PIN cards, your PIN numbers, whatever, passcodes. Imagine, we had this gentleman who had this phone, he had a passcode on the phone, and he saved the passcode on the phone. And his phone got hacked. So lo and behold, everything went up. So they say, you know, some of the people, actually when they tell you that there's no alternative to experience, I think they're bang on target. I had recently a old gentleman as a client who came and saw me. He's about 85 years old. He had a cybercrime problem, so he came and saw me. So we began talking. And the conversation veered around mobile phones. And he said, then we started talking about passwords, and he said, I have never been hacked in my life for passwords. I said, you are 85, you've been using internet for about 20, 25 years. So what's the magical sauce? He says, look, I've created my own approach on how to make my passwords more secure. I said, tell me. He said, look, most of the passwords can get hacked because they are thought over and written in the English language. So I think about my password in my native vernacular language. And then I write the password in English of the native vernacular word. And I add certain numbers and certain special characters. And I find that my passwords are not getting hacked. So I said, if you don't mind, can I ask you what your current password is? He said, I only changed it last week. My last password was, Main chalta ja raha hu, #1. All in English. MAINCHALTA. So this is a huge long kind of a list of a password, but this is remembered. It's remembered by people. It's very difficult to get hacked into. And lo and behold, you see, each one to your own. There is no magical principles as we go forward. The bottom line is that we are beginning to lose a lot of money. 2023, by the end of 2023, we lost more than $6 trillion to cybersecurity breaches and cybercrime. 2024 end, we lost more than $8 trillion to cybercrimes and cybersecurity breaches. By the end of 2025, we should be losing more than $10.5 trillion to cybersecurity breaches and cybercrimes as we go forward. So the alarm bells are coming loud and clear. So let's get clear about the fact that our cybersecurity is going to get breached. No matter what you want, no matter what you try. So we try our best. It's something like you want to carry an umbrella and you want to be guaranteed that you will never get wet in rain. That may never happen. Umbrella is going to make sure that you reasonably don't get wet. But there are no guarantees that you will never get wet. Similarly is the case in cyber. You can do your best on cyber security and hope for the best, but don't expect cyber security never to be breached. It's always going to be breached. So therefore, a new concept has arisen. It's a concept of cyber resilience. European Union has recently now come up with a new legislation called the European Union Cyber Resilience Act. The concept of cyber resilience is based on the scenario that let's take it as a given presumption that we will be hacked. Our cyber security will be breached. So it's not a question of getting panicky at that point of time. The question is how quickly can I come back to a state of normalcy after getting attacked. That's in a nutshell what's of topmost priority. In India, we have nothing on cyber resilience as of now. I've been telling the Indian government it's time that you need to come up with new legal frameworks on cyber resilience. But today when I talk with you, there's nothing on cyber resilience per se. Please remember, post-COVID-19, the golden age of cybercrime has ushered in. And this golden age is going to be with us for the next many decades. And in this golden age, cybersecurity breaches will be the new normal. Today, almost any cybercrime has a cybersecurity breach angle. You can't invariably commit a cybercrime without invariably breaching the cybersecurity of systems and networks. When I look at cybercrime, some broad categories. There are cybercrimes against persons. When you talk of cyberbullying, cyber defamation, cyber harassment, cyber nuisance, then there are cybercrimes against property. When you target a computer system, you hack, you crack, you damage a computer source code. Then there are cybercrimes against nations. When you are effectively going ahead and targeting nations through cyberbullying and cyber trolling or cyber terrorism. So, in addition, new kinds of cybercrimes have come in called social media crimes. Now, once I've looked at these kinds of crimes, I now want to find out where do I stand on cyber security law. First and foremost, do we have a law on cyber security? The answer is a crystal clear no. Today when I talk with you, India does not have a dedicated law on cyber security. What do we have then? We have India's mother legislation, which is the Information Technology Act, which is trying to give us a legal comprehensive definition of cyber security under Section 2. And this also we inserted after the Mumbai attacks in 2008. 2000, when we came up with the Information Technology Act 2000, we did not talk about cyber security because that was not important at that point of time. Mumbai attacks took place in November 2008. Within 1 month, we passed the Information Technology Amendment Act, where we, for the first time, we brought in a new concept of cyber security, and we came up with certain cosmetic provisions. We also came up with the National Cyber Security Policy of 2013, which is a good policy document. But then, it's now remained a mere paper tiger. Why? Because it's not been implemented. At the time when I talk with you, the government has been working, as per information in the public domain, on a new national cyber security strategy. But the strategy is still not out. But while all this is happening, something has happened in Australia 2 months back. In November 2024, Australia becomes the latest country in the world to pass a new dedicated law on cyber security. It's the National Cyber Security Act. Most of the laws today mandate reporting of cyber security breaches. Even in India, we have the Information Technology Directions 2022, which tell us that the moment we come to know of a cyber security breach, we are mandated to report it within 6 hours of coming to know about it to the nodal agency on cyber security, being the Computer Emergency Response Team of India. If I don't report within 6 hours, the law says I commit a crime under section 70B6 of the Information Technology Act, punishable with imprisonment and fine. So your golden period is those 6 hours. If it's 1 minute post 6 hours, you automatically commit an offense. Now when do that 6 hours start? Does it start when the cybersecurity breach takes place? Does it start when you come to know about it? The law says it starts when you come to know about it. So let me give an example. On 1st of January 2024, my system gets breached. I don't know about it. As a recent survey says, invariably it's more than 270 days on an average. That after about 270 days, does a person or an organization come to know of a cybersecurity breach. So I come to know of this cybersecurity breach maybe on 30th of November 2024 at 4 o'clock in the evening. The law says my 6 hours start on 30th of November 2024 at 4 in the evening. That means by 10 o'clock, I must report this in writing to Computer Emergency Response Team of India. I don't report this at 10:01 in the night, I commit an offense. Okay, what happens thereafter? If you commit an offense, it's like a Damocles sword that's going to hang on your head for the rest of your lives. Why? Because you can be prosecuted at any point of time. If you're lucky, maybe you don't get prosecuted. But if you're not lucky, you may get prosecuted. So that is the context. I was talking about data breach notification. Coming back to Australia, Australia for the first time in its new law has said, sorry, I'm not making data breach notification mandatory. Instead, I'm now coming up with something new. I'm now making it mandatory that if you make a payment for a ransomware attack, you must report it within 6 hours to the government authority. You don't report it, that becomes a crime. So why is this change happening from data breach reporting to ransomware payment reporting? The change is happening because breaches are happening left, right, and center. So a new approach is coming up amongst countries to say, let's try to look at how much money are people paying in ransomware attacks, and then try to breach that. Maybe try to control that. If you're going to make people responsible for legal consequences once they make payment for ransomware attacks, then to a large extent they may not start making payments for ransomware attacks. So that's a new approach that's happening. By the way, in America, 2 days back, a new legislation has been brought up. This legislation is called No Deep Seek on Government Devices Act 2025. The law is saying that it's now in America, if the law gets passed, this bill is saying that there will be no deep seek downloaded on governmental devices. Even if you have accidentally downloaded it, please remove it within 60 days. You violate this law and you can be sent to 20 years to jail time in America. In addition, you can actually be fined $1 million. So that's a new nature of these new cyber security legislations that are getting passed. Why is that happening? Because America distinctly believes that this program, DeepSeek, is a direct compromise on its national security and cyber security. Now, when you actually go to DeepSeek and ask about these DeepSeek guys, who are you? What are you? DeepSeek doesn't say I'm an AI platform. It says I'm an AI surveillance system. So once it says it's a surveillance system, that itself will tell you, wake you up, that do you want to put your data on a surveillance system, which is then going to surveil you for the rest of your lives. That's another big issue that actually comes up for consideration. So I think cyber security cannot be looked at as a siloed approach. Look, internationally there's nothing on cyber security, no law on cyber security, no international treaty on cybersecurity. So, countries have realized there's a vacuum at the international level. So what do? They say, we are not waiting. Let's start coming up with our own distinctive national laws on cybersecurity. So, different countries have started coming up with distinctive laws on cybersecurity. China, Vietnam, Australia, Singapore, Thailand, the list continues to keep on going. One thing common in all these cybersecurity laws across the world, almost every country tells us that my cybersecurity is part of my national security, period. Which means no outside, no foreign interference of any kind whatsoever. So once you make your cybersecurity as a part of your national security, it's a different ballgame altogether. China, incidentally, has now come up with a new concept. That concept is known as that of cyber sovereignty. And I want to talk about this because it's an important growing concept under cybersecurity law. Traditionally, we are all familiar with the concept of sovereignty. Sovereignty of a country invariably extends to its territorial boundaries. We are in India. Indian laws apply to territories of India, period. Can Indian laws apply outside India? Can they apply? No. By the way, your answer is inaccurate. Section 1 and Section 75 of the Information Technology Act 2000 says that the provisions of the Indian cyber law will be applicable to any person of any nationality anywhere in the world so long as the impact of the relevant activities is felt on computers, computer systems or computer networks physically located in India. So we've tried to give extraterritorial applicability to the IT Act, but let me share with you, in the last 25 years we have not been successful in having it implemented outside India. But China has now in its national cybersecurity law come up with the concept of cyber sovereignty, where it's saying that look, my sovereignty extends not just to my entire territorial boundaries, it extends to the entire of internet, the entire cyberspace, outer space, deep seabed, Arctic and the Antarctic. So you can say, how is that possible? Well, that's possible because countries have realized they have now come into a new Antarctic age phenomenon. See, when Antarctica was first discovered, what happened? Countries started sending expeditions to Antarctica. They will land at a particular place, put their flag on this area and say, this is my territory. So we assume jurisdiction. Now, similar kind of a phenomenon has begun to start happening in the Indian context, where in the cyber context, where countries like China are saying, I will go ahead and come up with very expanded notion of cyber sovereignty. Look, the way you want to do it, I'm not bothered. I'm also not bothered how I will be able to implement it, and I will cross the bridge when it comes. But needless to say, I'm now expanding my sovereignty. Now that's cyber sovereignty. Now has come up with a new concept called artificial intelligence sovereignty. Now, most of these AI programs are located outside India. For example, OpenAI is based out of California. DeepSeek is based out of China. Alibaba's Qwen 2.5 Max is based out of China. So logically, the local laws there would apply. You try reading the terms and conditions of OpenAI, they say any dispute between you and me will be subject to laws of America, to courts in California. DeepSeek says any dispute between you and me, we will be subject to laws of China. You will have to come and sue me in China. Now, therefore, a new concept has started emerging called artificial intelligence sovereignty, where countries are saying that my laws will be applicable to all artificial intelligence ecosystem stakeholders, independent of where they are, so long as their impact is being felt on my systems located in my country. So, give an example. Countries will say that, look, my laws will apply to all AI platforms, whether you are in my country or not, so long as your AI services is available on devices and computers in my country, you will be amenable to my law, you'll have to ensure compliance with my law, and that's the way things will have to work across. new concept evolving. A similar new concept evolving is coming of that of space sovereignty. Space is a global common. It belongs to humanity. But countries are saying, sorry, when I'm sending my satellite upstairs in outer space, then anything that happens to that satellite is subject to my jurisdiction. So my sovereignty is extending. So much so that somebody else attacks the cyber security of my satellite in space. That's part of my space sovereignty, will be subject to my cyber security laws. So even if some attacks takes place on my space station or my satellite and some debris starts falling, it falls in some other country, I'm saying, look, it's still part of my sovereignty, will be subject to my laws. You want to come and sue me in my country, in my laws, not otherwise. So that's now the new approach that's begun to start happening. I'm quickly going to go forward. How many of you are not on WhatsApp? Everybody is on WhatsApp. How many of you are on Signal? 5, 6 people. So since all of you are on WhatsApp, has anybody read the terms and conditions of WhatsApp? When it tells you that it's 100% secure, you believe that, right? Logically. It says it's end-to-end encrypted. Phenomenal classical case of maximum cyber security. Start reading the document. You'll start realizing that it was a classical case of Ashwathama, the elephant being killed, versus Ashwathama, the son being killed. So it's, an elephant has got 2 sets of teeth. One to show the world, one with which it eats. The same philosophy applies in these platforms as well. So when they tell you they're 100% secure, encrypted, please don't believe them till such time you read your documentation. You read their terms and conditions. WhatsApp is only telling you it's only end-to-end secure, which means from the time when I'm actually creating a WhatsApp message and I'm sending it, until such time you receive it, on the way, nobody can see, read or hear the same. That's absolutely correct. Does that mean that still is 100% encryption? I don't think so. Why? Because when I'm creating the WhatsApp message, it's unencrypted. When you receive it and you start reading it, it's unencrypted. Therefore, those messages can be hacked. Your cyber security can get compromised. My problem is on WhatsApp, people are sending their Aadhaar photocopies. They are sending their passport details. They are sending all kinds of bank details without realizing that hacking these platforms is actually a child's play. So I agree, WhatsApp is India's new religion. But I also agree that this religion has got immense problems, more so from the perspective of cyber security. And as users, we'll have to be more careful as we go forward. So if you're talking about cyber security, you're talking about cyber crime, you need to talk about cyber law. And when I talk about cyber law, we need to understand that in India we only have one cyber law, which is the Information Technology Act 2000. You say, I'm a non-lawyer, why should I know about cyber law? That's a fantastic question. Let me answer that question by telling you that in India, if you are using any of the 7 raw materials in your day-to-day life, you get covered under this law. You use computers, computer systems, computer networks, computer resources, communication devices, as also data and information in electronic form, you get covered under this law. So there's hardly any other law in India which is pertaining to the electronic format. They say ignorance of law is no excuse in the eyes of law. And we have tried to cover some aspects of cyber security as part of the Information Technology Act 2000, but more significantly, the government has been given various powers to come up with rules and regulations, which it has been repeatedly coming up. You're amenable to, you have to mandatorily comply with these acts and rules as we go forward. This law tells us you create some mischief, you do some mischief, you enter into somebody else's system without their knowledge, you breach the cyber security, you can actually now be sued for damages up to 5 crore rupees under section 43 of the IT Act. Under section 43A of the IT Act, you can actually be sued for unlimited damages by way of compensation, but this particular provision is now on its path of extinction. Why? Because section 43A has been repealed by the Digital Personal Data Protection Act 2023, an act on data protection which has still not been implemented. The day that act gets implemented, this remedy under 43A goes away. But then this new law comes up called the DPDP Act. So I sent something obscene, I should be prepared for 3 years jail time, 5 lakh rupees fine, section 67 IT Act. I go specifically in the direction of capturing explicit sexual content, publishing or transmitting it, no problem. I get 5 years jail time, 10 lakh rupees fine. I publish, transmit or even browse child pornography, no problem, non-bailable offence, 5 years imprisonment, 10 lakh rupees fine. We have the Aadhaar ecosystem. We have 2 laws in the country, the Aadhaar Act 2016, the Aadhaar Amendment Act 2019. Is there someone in the auditorium who does not have an Aadhaar? Please raise your hands. 99.9% of Indians have Aadhaar. Today we have a bigger problem. I go to the bank, I want some changes somewhere, they want a copy of my Aadhaar. I want a new SIM, the guy wants a copy of my Aadhaar. I go to any government department, everybody wants Aadhaar. And what do? We make photocopies of Aadhaar, we give it to the bank, we give it to the cell provider, we give it to anyone, Thompson, Dick and Harry, and we get our SIM phone and we are done, our SIM card and we are done. Do you realize there have been cases found out that when you go and get your photocopy of the Aadhaar done, invariably the photocopier guy would make a couple of copies. He said, "Galti ho gayi, theek nahi aaya, dobara le lijiye." So he keeps a copy of your Aadhaar. And then subsequently, he makes about 200 copies of the same Aadhaar. And each copy he sells for a couple of hundred rupees to different cyber criminals. Why? Because it's your identity. So once your Aadhaar is in somebody else's hand and he uses the same, you are going to be responsible for misuse of Aadhaar. So the police comes knocking at your door because your Aadhaar was used somewhere. The problem is you are in a completely hopeless situation. Why? Because you don't have even the legal remedy under the Aadhaar Act to go and report the matter to police. Only the Unique Identification Authority of India can report the matter to police, not the normal people. Number 2, once your Aadhaar gets compromised, you do not have any remedies primarily under the Aadhaar Act. And number 3, once your digital identity gets compromised, you get effectively jeopardized for life. How many of you have locked your Aadhaar? Please raise your hands. 5, 6 people have locked their Aadhaar. Others have not even locked their Aadhaar. Go to this website called uidai.gov.in. Go to My Aadhaar. There's a process by means of which you can lock your Aadhaar, lock the biometrics of your Aadhaar. Why? That's very important. If you do that, at least you'll make sure that your Aadhaar does not get misused or abused without your knowledge. But if you think we are hunky-dory, we'll be distributing Aadhaar photocopies elsewhere, please realize you're playing with fire. How much lucky can you be in the rest of your life? Ask yourself the fundamental question. Yes, you can ride the tiger of your luck once, twice, 10 times, 100 times, but not for a lifetime. Somewhere down the line, you will find that you will become a victim of Aadhaar. So Aadhaar brings across its own cyber security challenges. Unfortunately, Aadhaar began as an executive order of the Indian government. And soon, the way it was touted, it became the new ration card of India. Everybody started going into lines to get their Aadhaars. And lo and behold, nobody even talked about the cyber security of Aadhaar. When they conceptualized Aadhaar, cyber security was not a bigger priority. Consequently today, what's happening is that with government now connecting everything to Aadhaar, there's an ecosystem around Aadhaar that's developed. So in Aadhaar, you have something known as a central identities data repository of the government, which is very safe because that's got your and my biometrics, no problem. The problem starts happening when the government said, let me connect income tax to Aadhaar, bank to Aadhaar, corporate accounts to Aadhaar, everything else to Aadhaar. So an ecosystem started developing around Aadhaar. This ecosystem is completely unsecured. No cyber security. It's getting breached left, right and center. And that's why even an authority like Unique Identification Authority of India is actually registering about more than 50 FIRs per year because of breaches of cyber security on the Aadhaar. So my request to you, if you can avoid using Aadhaar, please do that. Why? Because the cyber security parameters around Aadhaar require much to be desired. Number two, once your Aadhaar gets compromised, you have no remedy under the Aadhaar Act or the Aadhaar Amendment Act. And number three, once you get compromised in terms of your Aadhaar, your digital identity stands compromised for a lifetime. Because along with Aadhaar is connected the iris of my eye, is connected the thumb impression of my hand. Now let's come up to another aspect of cyber security called data protection. At the time when I'm talking to you this afternoon, India does not have a dedicated law on data protection. Actually, data protection and cyber security are two sides of the same coin. You cannot have data protection without cyber security. You cannot have cyber security without protecting data. So it's like a chicken and egg situation. So on 11th of August 2023, the Government of India, the Parliament passed the Digital Personal Data Protection Act 2023. A law that's substantially inspired by the General Data Protection Regulation of the European Union. Now this law got passed, but it's not yet been implemented because the section says the power has been given to the government to implement it at appropriate point of time. In January 2025, the Government of India has come up with Draft Digital Personal Data Protection Rules 2025 for public comment. The public comments are open till 18th of February. And once they get finalized, they are going to be implemented and this law will come into force. Let me have two things. First, the celebration and then the not so celebration. The celebration, it's India's first dedicated law on data protection. The wonderful achievement, our personal data will be protected. The fundamental game-changing scenario, that people like you and me, being data principals, have now become the center of the data protection universe. Look, till prior to today, people don't even think twice before using your and my data. I'll give you an example. 2 weeks back, I was at an international conference. I was chairing a session. The session was on data protection. And there were a couple of speakers on data protection. And in the session, I'm getting repeatedly calls from a particular number. I disregarded them. But when I got about 12, 15 calls, I said there will be some medical emergency, let me pick up the call. So I picked up the call. And I found out the call says that, look, we are calling from the customs department and we found that you have sent some consignment, we have found drugs, we will arrest you. I said, please come in and arrest me right away. And I disconnected the call. And I was wondering, here am I chairing a session on data protection in a country which has got a dedicated law on data protection, and my personal data is being misused by cyber criminals, and they have the audacity to call me on a session in data protection, telling me, look, my data is not protected. So I think that's now the new age phenomenon that we have to live on. So that's a positive aspect. Let me look at another good positive, which is that this law does not have any penal consequences. No crimes defined. You do anything with data protection, you cannot be sent to jail. So that's a wonderful scenario. No crimes defined. One of the unique legislations in independent India where no crimes are defined. But let's pause. before we celebrate. There are not so good aspects of this law as well. Why? Because this law has understood that India is a different ball game. When you tell somebody in India you will be going to jail, he says, no problem. I am the student of the Indian Jugaad School of Management. I can do Jugaad. So I will do Jugaad and somehow try to avoid, delay my going to jail. So this law says people are not necessarily afraid to go into jail. But yes, people will be mindful if you take monies out of their pocket. So that's why for the first time this law has now come up with unprecedented fines. Earlier fines used to be a couple of thousands. Under the AICTE Act there were a couple of lakhs. The AICTE Act has maximum fine of 10 lakhs. Then we could seek for damages up to 5 crores. Then we could seek for unlimited damages. But under the Digital Personal Data Protection Act 2023, if you don't comply with the provisions of this law, you can be fined up to 250 crore rupees for one contravention. 250 crore rupees. So supposing your company does 4 contraventions, no problem. Just be prepared to have 1,000 crore rupees as loose change. Your minimum fine has to start at 50 crores. You cannot be fined less than 50 crores. Your maximum fine is 250 crores. Now, that suddenly means who gets this 250 crores? The complainant does not get this 250 crores. The government of India gets this 250 crores. This money will go into the Consolidated Fund of India. What happens if you say, sir, I don't have the money to pay you? The law says, no problem. You don't have the money to pay me? No problem. I will consider this as areas of land revenue. 2 decades back, we had this wonderful Hindi film called Lagan, which had come in. This 250 crores is the new form of digital Lagan that's coming. The government can actually recover it from you at any point of time, which means that the government will have the power to go ahead and attach your assets, your properties, sell those assets, properties, and get the money from you. So there's no way you can escape this 250 crore rupees stuff. That's the new ball game that's come up under the new DPDP Act. And I think that could also be a good catalyst for pushing people more in the direction of protection of cybersecurity. Why? Because this law is talking about all of us needing to put in place reasonable security safeguards. Mind you, in 2008, under the IT Act, we had come up with the concept of reasonable security practices. 11th of April 2011, the government came up with the Information Technology, Reasonable Security Practices and Procedures, and Sensitive Personal Data or Information Rules 2011, which said if you follow ISO 27001, you comply with reasonable security practices and procedures. Now, this law has come up with the reasonable security safeguards, which is talking about cyber security and also talking of encryption. So, this is now a new thing that's happening. How far will that lead to shall I say, stagnation or decline of the great Indian vomiting revolution? I don't know. But then we are expecting to make things. But then please understand, things are not stopping. Technology is moving at a very rapid pace. Quantum computing has already arrived. The 50-qubit quantum computer is live and kicking. A computer which is going to break your and my passwords in a few seconds. And quantum computing is going to bring forward new challenges on cybersecurity. How do we go ahead and protect our assets in the digital ecosystem? And that's the reason why post-quantum cryptography is beginning to start getting more and more significant. Things like 3D printing are still, minor things that are happening as we go forward, but fake news is all around us. In fact, today, how many of you have not heard of deep fake? Please raise your hands. Everybody has heard of deep fake. Just one hand. Deep fake, 2 hands. Deep fake is a new phenomenon by means of which artificial intelligence creates fake electronic records. So, In India, it started getting traction thanks to one actress called Rashmika Mandanna. Rashmika Mandanna found that a viral video of hers came up which was apparently featuring her, showing her not so in a good, better position, but then actually it was found to be a deepfake. Then subsequently deepfakes started targeting Indian actresses. So whether you were an Alia Bhatt, whether you were a Katrina Kaif, you found that your deepfakes were floating. But that was some time back. The ground position today is deepfake can be made of anyone. You have now free tools available which allow you to make deepfakes of anyone. And today we should all be prepared that somewhere in this ecosystem some of our deepfakes will be floating around. And these deepfakes will go ahead and influence other people's decisions about us, other people's perceptions about us, and other people's interactions vis-a-vis us. So, in a scenario like this, fake information is going to be all around. And you'll have to be careful. I'll pause and just give you some recent thing that happened. In Kerala, in one of the cities, there's this gentleman who's the vice president of a company. He's got a 7-year-old daughter. The daughter goes to school every morning. The school van comes and picks up the daughter from the gate of the house. Father leaves his daughter every day into the school van, then starts going on for preparing for the day. One day he leaves his daughter in the morning. 45 minutes later, he gets a call. The call says that we've kidnapped your daughter. And you only have one choice. You have to pay us 15 lakh rupees in 15 minutes. If you don't pay us, on the 16th minute, we will kill your daughter. He says, I don't believe you, make me talk to my daughter. They make her talk to his daughter. The daughter's crying, howling, Papa, please take me away. They're going to kill me. They've got knives and guns. Once he hears the panic voice of his daughter, he starts negotiating. He says, I'm a salaried guy, I can't give you 15 lakhs. The criminals refuse to budge. So when the father sees it's 13 minutes gone and they're not budging, he decides to pay. He pays 15 lakhs and the 14th minute communicates back. The daughter is now more safer. Location is fixed up. Come and pick your daughter from this location. He and his wife jump into the car, racing to go to the location to pick up the daughter. On the way, the father is thinking, this has happened to me. It can happen to everyone else. Let me call up the school principal and inform. He calls up the school principal and tells him about this entire thing that's happened. The school principal says, what are you talking, sir? Your daughter has been with us since morning in school. That's the first time the father realizes that he's become a victim of a deepfake crime. They have been able to take the voice sample of the daughter, they've been able to clone it and use it in such remarkable precision that even the father got foxed into believing the panic voice of his daughter and landed up paying 15 lakh rupees. I think that's now the new scenario. Our cyber security is now going to be more breached as a result of these new deepfakes happening. And please, whether we like it or not, this is the big elephant in the room that nobody wants to talk of, which is the darknet. The darknet is the deep underbelly of the internet, where you cannot go using the search engine. You can only go using a particular browser known as the onion router browser. Darknet brings across with its own distinctive new challenges, but now a new flavor has already emerged on the darknet, and that flavor is called cybercrime as a service powered by artificial intelligence. So when my daughter, picks up at 2 in the morning and calls for something from one of the service providers, the said item or the chips come in within 10 minutes. We are now in the system of instant gratification. So on the darknet also there's now instant gratification. You want to get a cybercrime done? Order a cybercrime. The cybercriminal will not do it. he'll get AI to do the cybercrime for you. Why? He also wants to be more safe. He wants to make sure that the police does not ultimately reach out to him. And lo and behold, we have not even begun talking of the metaverse. How many of you are aware of metaverse? Please raise your hands. Numerous of them. Metaverse is the new version of the internet. So imagine today's world internet coupled with augmented reality and virtual reality put together. That's metaverse. So one of our clients had a female avatar in the metaverse. And one day, a male avatar came on the metaverse and digitally raped the female avatar. The client was livid with anger. He came back to us. He said he wants to press charges for digital rape. We told the client, sir, the concept of digital rape has still not evolved. Rape is a physical world activity. When you do activities between a male or a female, or between two males or two females. But the concept of avatar being raped by another avatar is something that's not yet even been begun to be legally recognized. And that's happened because the cyber security of those avatars got compromised as we go forward. I think cyber security is the need of the hour. Don't wait for law to happen. Laws will happen, but then the onus is on us that we start adopting cyber security as a way of life as we go forward. Well, I think I see a huge potential on cyber security, because there's one particular survey which tells us that by 2029, your 9-to-5 job is going to go away, and there'll be need for updating more skill sets, need for getting more cyber lawyers. But please remember something on the corner. In July 2023, OpenAI has started a new project. It's called the Super Intelligence Alignment Project. It says, give us 4 years, and we are now going to come up with a super intelligence that's going to supersede the cumulative intelligence of humanity as a whole. Now that's the new super intelligence that's coming up. We'll have to be more careful as we go forward. There'll be need for massive capacity building, and that's why programs like these become very important in terms of capacity building. Everybody requires capacity building. You see, I'm a lawyer. I was brought up with a conception that the highest court in the world is the International Court of Justice. And that being so, they would know everything. And lo and behold, a couple of decades later, I did a training program for the judges and the officers of the International Court of Justice. And I realized even they had a need for capacity building on these new issues. So we need to understand. So I did an experiment. A couple of years back, I started an online portal called cyberlawuniversity.com. I said, I'm into cyber law. Who's interested in cyber law? Let me experiment. So I recorded 37 courses online, put them on this website, and forgot about it. 5 years down the line, these were courses on cyber law, cybercrime, cyber security, artificial intelligence, blockchain, Internet of Things. And 5 years down the line, when I actually go back, I'm surprised. More than 31,500 professionals from 174 countries have already done these courses. And these guys speak 53 different national languages. Because just to tell us that everybody is now in the self-help mode. We'll have to create more capacities as we go forward. I finally conclude by saying, guys, law is constantly developing, evolving, but the ground realities are completely changing. On cyber security, you cannot no longer have an element of luxury. It's an element of necessity that you have to focus on. You have to specifically quickly realize that law will keep on developing, but the problem is new advances of technology, of artificial intelligence coming in, of emerging tech coming in. You will constantly have new challenges that will have to be met up. So laws will take their own time. Once laws come up, there'll be legal consequences. But lo and behold, let's be careful of our own stuff. Why? Because our assets, our digital assets, are our most important, shall I say, property today. By the way, people have started coming to us. We've recently done some digital wills, where people have come to us and said, look, I've got some humongous volumes of digital data, and I want a digital will where I want to bequeath my digital assets to people whom I know, or whom I would want them to have. So these digital wills will come up, new paradigms will come up, AI will completely change the world, but cybersecurity will continue to be playing a very, very important role. And cybersecurity law will continue to keep on evolving as a distinctive sub-discipline of cyber law at a global, regional, and national levels. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for giving me this opportunity. It's been wonderful. Any questions if anyone has? Happy to assist and ask or answer any questions. Okay, I see a hand there, please. Go ahead.
So like in the digital arrest, there is also monetary transaction. So why can't we trace the culprit?
We can definitely trace the culprit. Why? Because in a digital arrest, money is invariably asked in a banking channel. But for that, more proactive action is required to be done at the Reserve Bank of India level. Why? Because when they digitally arrest me and I make payment from my account to somebody else's account, the money doesn't stop there. It then subsequently gets transferred into many accounts and finally gets withdrawn through mule accounts. So ultimately, all this information is with the banking sector, but the banks don't really want to shall I say, cooperate in this regard, and even the police is getting more, slightly not very enthusiastic in terms of doing with these cases. You lose 5,000, 10,000, you lose 50,000, try reporting it, they're not even bothered. You lose couple of lakhs, they may hear you. You lose crores, they will definitely hear you. So I think the scenario is, if we can have stringent regulations by means of which banks can be made responsible for legal consequences if they don't give information, then I think we can track these monies down. Right now, trying to get this information to come from banks becomes a humongous task, because a lot of this is fake information. These are fake KYCs that are done. Obviously, this is done with the active connivance of some officers within the bank. So the system will have to be strengthened. And once we do that, we can actually identify. But some of the cases we were able to find that the money that got taken from our account from a digital arrest ultimately got withdrawn in some remote areas in the country by some rickshaw puller or by some grocery owner, people who were not necessarily connected with the crime but who were taken as mules in this crime. I think system has to be sensitized. We will also have to incorporate the coverage of digital arrest as a crime. Today, digital arrest is not a dedicated crime under the law, neither under the AICTE Act nor under the Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita. Today, we also don't find coverage of digital arrest in an effective manner under existing provisions of law. So I think a lot of work will have to be done, but the onus will ultimately have to be on the RBI to make sure that they come up with stringent mechanisms to force the bank to give the details so that we can come back to the ultimate offender at the earliest possible time. I hope that answers your question. Thank you. Well, thank you. It's been wonderful. On a Sunday afternoon, all of you have spared time to come in here. I'm very thankful, grateful to all of you. It's been a pleasure coming back to JNU, to your school, after many, many years. But thank you, Dr. Singh, for giving me this opportunity. It's been a wonderful pleasure. Happy to assist you. You have my email addresses here. Anytime you guys want to reach out to me, connect with me in any area that I can be of assistance to you, happy to be of assistance to you.
Sorry, actually I have one question.
Yeah.
What you can do if cyber crime department can't do solve the problem?
What can we do?
Yes.
We can effectively do nothing right now. And the cybercrimes can't solve my problem. Why? Because I don't have the wherewithal to go ahead and do forensic examination, to go ahead and collect the relevant incriminating electronic evidence and stuff like that. So my best choice is, if the cybercrime department doesn't do that, no problem, let me take them to court. So government gives you two options today. Once I become a victim of a cybercrime, I can instantaneously call one number, 1930. 1930 is the National Cybercrime Helpline number. You call that. If they pick up your call, I'm using the word if they pick up your call, then they will register your call online and then some action will start. But the chances are, a lot of that call may not be getting picked up. A lot of people complain, sir, we keep on calling 1930, nobody picks up. And specifically, if you're calling after 5 o'clock in the evening, till next morning 9 o'clock, maybe you will not even getting a call. So that's one option. Second option is, you can go to cybercrime.gov.in, which is the National Cybercrime Reporting Portal. The moment you report there, you're able to generate a government acknowledgement of the Ministry of Home Affairs. There's an acknowledgement number through which you can track down how process has been done in terms of investigation of your particular cybercrime complaint. Supposing you find that despite the complaint they are not actioning, I'm not doing any action. No problem. You can go to the court of the concerned metropolitan magistrate, saying, sir, I've asked them to do this, they've not done it, please direct them. Because the problem is this National Cybercrime Reporting Portal is not a magic portal. It's only a reporting portal. It is not an FIR portal. So out of 100 cases that gets reported there, less than 5 cases get registered as an FIR. And registration of an FIR is the first starting point for starting of investigation in a cybercrime matter. So once you find that in your matter no FIR has been registered, please go to the court of the concerned metropolitan magistrate and go ahead and seek for directions. The court has got the powers under the Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita to go ahead, and the Bharatiya Nagarik Suraksha Adhiniyam, BNSS, to go ahead and specifically order the police to register an FIR in this particular regard and proceed. But you see, please understand, let's not take any cybercrime to be the end of life. Every cybercrime incident is only a wake-up call. It's a call that's come to make you aware, okay, where did you go wrong? What can you avoid doing next time, right? Because even after that episode, you're never secure. Till such time you die, you'll have n number of cases when you will become victims of cybercrime, right? So we'll have to constantly keep on updating our skill sets on where did we go wrong, what we should not repeat, whether we should trust or not trust people. In fact, I tell people today, the time has come where all of us today must inculcate distrust and mistrust as part of our mindsets. वो ज़माना चला गया कि बॉस जो देखा उसको समझ लिया उसको मान लिया. Sorry. Now the time has come where we must distrust and mistrust every information that I see, read or hear till such time I have not independently authenticated the correctness or veracity of such information. So that's the scenario. But people are losing money left, right and center. I mean, I've got clients. One of my clients lost 19 crore rupees because he was made a victim of a digital arrest. He had one case of ED going against him. They called him up and said, you got one case going. We're now going to put 6 more cases of ED against you. And if you want to get out, you got a chain of people to pay up. So pay up huge amounts of money. They asked far more. They settled at 19 crores. 19 crores was paid. And then subsequently he found out that he became a victim of cybercrime and nothing else. So I think it's constant awareness that will be your Suraksha Kavach. Please realize that you are in the center of the digital Kurukshetra today. You are going to be attacked from a 360-degree view all the time, including at the time when you expect the least. So if you put a good Suraksha Kavach, if you are able to protect yourself, have a good mindset about inculcating cybersecurity as a way of life, that could be a good starting point as you move forward. I hope that answers the question. Thanks.
जो AI है वो जॉब को खा रही है कॉर्पोरेट वर्ल्ड में, तो फिर गवर्नमेंट इस पर रेस्ट्रिक्शंस क्यों नहीं लगा रही है?
देखिए, आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस एक रामपुरी छुरी की तरह है. उस रामपुरी छुरी से आप सब्जी भी काट सकते हैं, किसी का खून भी कर सकते हैं. तो डिपेंड करता है कि आप उसका सकारात्मक या नकारात्मक क्या उसका प्रभाव करते हैं.
लेकिन नकारात्मक प्रयोग बढ़ रहा है ना उसका. इसमें तो गवर्नमेंट भी इस बात को लेकर अवेयर है, फिर भी रेस्ट्रिक्शंस नहीं लगाए जा रहे.
हम लगातार सरकार को परसुएड करने का प्रयास कर रहे हैं कि एटलीस्ट जो नकारात्मक मिसयूज हो रहा है आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस का, उस पर आप लगाम लगाइए, उस पर नियंत्रण डालिए और इफेक्टिव लीगल प्रोविजन लेकर आइए. फॉर्चुनेटली अब मंत्री साहब की स्टेटमेंट आ गई है कि अब भारतवर्ष एक नए आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस के कानून को देखने की दिशा में आगे बढ़ रहा है. तो हो सकता है कुछ हफ्तों में, कुछ महीनों में, कुछ सालों में शायद ये कानून आए. लेकिन हाँ, आप बात बिल्कुल सही कह रहे हैं. हमारा दिमाग अक्सर आजकल नेगेटिव ज़्यादा चलता है. हम लोग नेगेटिवली यूजेस ज़्यादा इस्तेमाल करते हैं और तभी उस नेगेटिव यूज़ को रेगुलेट करना बहुत ज़रूरी है, वरना साइबर क्राइम का तो बोलबाला चारों ओर हो जाने वाला है.
I put the call from Ministry of Defense.
Okay. Okay.
But I didn't pick. My mom told they pick up the call, but I didn't pick. And I know that was fake.
It's all fake. It's all fake. You get calls from the Reserve Bank of India. One of our clients got a call from Reserve Bank of India that he's got a lottery price of 50 lakhs from the Reserve Bank of India. And he believed that. And they wanted to get about 50,000 rupees as processing fee. He paid 50,000 rupees as processing fee. I mean, people are so naive. Why will Reserve Bank of India give you a lottery? It can give you a prize, but why wouldn't it give you a lottery? So I think people are now coming up with new innovative approaches on how to defraud others. Cyber fraud is the new mantra. People have to fraud you all the time. You have to be constantly careful, try to protect yourself. Thank you. जी.
If you were supposed to be in my place, like, what protective measures you have taken to protect your own data, and like I'm using this all services, what would you have done to protect yourself?
Well, first and foremost, there's nothing known as absolute security. Security is a relative paradigm. What was cyber secure yesterday is not cyber secure today. And what is cyber secure today will definitely not be cyber secure tomorrow. So once we start realizing cyber security as a journey, then we will get ourselves acquainted to the fact that we'll have to revisit this all the time. But some basic hygiene methodologies is very important. Common sense is very important. So having a good firewall is important. Having a good antivirus is important. Backups are very important. Somehow हम लोग Indians को लगता है बॉस ये तो कभी जाएगा ही नहीं, ये तो हर वक्त मेरे साथ ही रहेगा. So we don't use backups. So backups are your biggest, shall I say, protectors in the times to come. In addition, let's only share information on a need-to-know basis. Today we are sharing information on a vomiting basis. We are vomiting, whether we like it or not. But please realize, once we begin to start sharing information on the need of the other person to know the information, then to a large extent, your information is going to be more secure. At the end of the day, please don't start connecting onto public Wi-Fi's. These are hotbeds for malicious programs, spywares, malwares coming in. Please don't use somebody else's password, use your own password. Do not connect for charging your devices at public stations, at airports, at railway stations, because your devices have malwares that are embedded therein. Try as far as possible to constantly keep on scanning your devices. Try to have two kind of backups. One is the first backup and one is a disaster recovery backup. Have the disaster recovery backup at a different location rather than this. We all of us trust these online drives. Online drives look fantastic, they're very sexy, but they may not ultimately be very beneficial for you. So please go back to traditional theology, traditional mindset, which is physical backup at a physical location. One backup on one hard disk at one place. One backup on another hard disk at another place. Supposing this backup doesn't work, somebody else will work. At the end of the day, please don't share your personal information under any circumstances to anyone. I mean, if I get a call that my electricity will be disconnected tonight, let it be disconnected tonight. But please don't click on any of these links, because these phishing links are opening up a Pandora's box. And ultimately, it's your common sense. If somebody is focusing you, targeting you to act in a great amount of hurry, or is putting you in some fear or panic, that's your first alarm signal. Disconnect. That's your first thing that you need to be doing. Once you do basic common sense, basic cyber hygiene to a large extent, and stop trusting people. Why? Because on your data, you can only trust yourself. You can't even trust your machine, because if you trust yourself and your machine stands compromised, you're still, at the end of the day, at a jeopardy level. So I think it's a combination of all facts. We don't have to be overawed with this. I'm not saying go to the Himalayas, take sannyas. We have to be in this world. We'll have to live. The idea is, let's take some basic best steps forward. Let's try to do some cyber hygiene. Try to secure our data. Try to have some good cyber hygiene methodologies. Don't be in a hurry to watch a lot of pornography, because a lot of these pornographic websites has a lot of malicious programs. Try as far as possible not to leave your footprints. That's your next level. Don't leave behind your electronic footprints, because these footprints are going to be used by cyber criminals, by state, non-state actors to come and target you. Don't think you are nobody. You are Tom, Dick and Harry. Sorry, you are a data entity. You are an important person. Your data is very important to everybody, whether it's the service providers, whether it's the aggregators, whether it's the advertisers. So they will do everything possible to steal your data. And also, never please publish anything either in an emotional state of mind online or in a state of hurry online. Try as far as possible delineating your personal life from the online world. Why? Because your personal life, if it's going to be online, will come back and haunt you under any circumstances at any point of time in the coming times. So just be careful, be duly diligent, and I think you'll all be fine. Thanks. Well, thank you. It's been a wonderful talking to all of you. It's a sheer pleasure. Thank you. Can we have a picture with this wonderful group whenever after this? Okay.
Thank you, sir. As a token of appreciation, we are honored to felicitate you with a memento and symbolizing our gratitude for your time, your expertise, and your contributions. And for doing the honors, I would request Professor D.K. Lobiyal to please come on stage and felicitate our guest.
Sir, thank you. Very good.
Now I would request all the faculty members and all the audience to please gather here for a photo session so that we can capture this beautiful moment. Thank you. And we are going to have a high tea after the photo session, so please join us.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Thank you. Thank you, it's a pleasure. Most of them are paid courses. But on Udemy, there are a couple of my free courses which are doing exactly. Thank you. Thank you, Ji. Thank you. Sure, sure.
ये हमारा पेन है वो दीजिए उसमें कल वाला सेशन का डिस्कशन देना देंगे अरे ये लैपटॉप गाली लो ना
नहीं नहीं अब वो स्टूडेंट अपने
अरे
अरे वो अपने आप
वो
देखेगा।
रिकॉर्ड हो रहा है सर,
है?
रिकॉर्ड हो रहा है।
क्या रिकॉर्ड हो रहा है? अरे तो भैया कौन जब ये सारे उठा के ले जाएगा तो किसकी रिकॉर्ड